Thanks, Jakub, for a great intro. He's very right. So are you ready for some energy? Because we are Neurogrid, and we revolutionize the way we plan the transmission lines. Let me tell you how. In short, we save 80% of all planning costs. How? Let me tell you. But first, I'm going to give you a story. Every day, we use a lot of electricity. And there are some predictions that in the future, we will need much more of this electricity. Europe is hitting its decarbonization goals by electrifying everything. So we will need more electricity for AI, for electric cars, for green hydrogen. And this huge demand needs two things: new power plants and new power lines, which will keep the grid stable and bring the electricity from the windy offshore and sunny fields right to your home. But it's a little bit complicated. It's not that we just build the routes and that's it. It requires very difficult planning. Well, the routes themselves. One 70-kilometer long route, not that long, has 233 of pylons, which are huge pylons made of steel and concrete, and every one of them is really expensive. 1 kilometer of this route costs 30 million of Czech crowns. So you have to be really careful when you're planning it. Where does this route go through? And the planning itself, it's really tedious work. It takes more than 10 people and more than 2 years to plan such a route. So even before you start building the first stone, you are working hard for 2 years. And why is it so hard? Well, because there is such a complexity. There are many layers of geography data and many constraints, such as you cannot enter the village. You cannot go to the flood zones because the pylons will go away. And many more constraints, hundreds and hundreds, that the designers have to go through and carefully plan the routes. Let me show you an example. That's the best, how you can imagine. Let's say we want to connect the point A on the left to the point to the right. You just start with a straight line. Good, catching up. And by the way, in the back communist regime, this is where we would stop planning and start building. But thankfully nowadays, we cannot just bulldoze a national park or build a pylon right into your kitchen. So we are gonna look at national parks or protected areas. Okay, let's avoid them. Let's now look at the villages. Oops, we are crossing them, so we don't want to build there. Let's go around. And we iterate like this for flood zones where the pylons cannot stand. And in the end, the route looks like this. You see from the straight line that was 70 kilometers long, this is many tens of kilometers more. And that's really hard because there was hundreds and thousands of layers that you have to think about and assign the route based on that. But what if this route is beautiful, ain't it? Every one of these pylons costs really a lot and has to meet all the legal, environmental, and social demands. But after that, the electricity is ready. Well, after 2 years and millions of Czech crowns. What if there was some solution that you just point the point A and point B, and it gives you optimized, perfect routes, and you start building right away? Well, our solution, Neurogrid, is a unique combination of customized algorithms, perfectly trained neural networks, and as a cherry on top, a LLM, which you can write talk to, which gives you lines that are ready for building. And instead of 2 years of going through maps, you have the routes that are given to you by our special algorithms that were the hardest path of our development. And you can then talk to it through an inbuilt LLM. Imagine it as a co-pilot, a co-engineer that knows everything about planning, knows everything about the routes that has been given to you by the models. And you can talk with it. What if we want to do this turn? Because there is one man who doesn't want to have this pylon in his garden, and he doesn't allow it. Yeah, so you can iterate and work constantly without waiting for 2 years. You just type in the coordinates, you run the algorithms, and as you can see, the routes are there, and you can choose from them. There is not a perfect solution for this problem. That's why it's so complex. So that's why we give more routes, more alternatives to the projectants, and they can decide. They can adjust these routes. That's the power of this tool. And we are building this in cooperation with a Czech transmission operator, and he sees this tool as a huge potential because it can save thousands of man-hours for dozens of projectants. And thanks to this, you can build the strong European grid much faster because we need that. And talking about the numbers, the cost of development just on salaries of planning one route is 25 million Czech crowns, and it takes 2 years, as I mentioned. But with Neurogrid, with this tool that gives you the routes right away, and you can just adjust them, it is much shorter and much cheaper. Why would these companies have to buy our tool? Well, because we already have a solid base. We have a great know-how, great algorithms that we have customly built, and you are ready to use them for a yearly fee. If you wanted to customly build it, it's tedious. You do not have the certain results because the algorithms and neural networks can behave differently. And you have to wait half a year before it's developed. And it costs not a small money. So we offer this to companies for a yearly fee, and just with a handful of customers, we can reach 2 million of profit in 5 years. And how do we want to expand? Well, there is 226 potential customers in Europe totally, and we want to start small in the markets that we know well, and we have the data, and we can enter that fast. So Germany, Czechia, Slovakia, there is potential of 2 million of yearly revenue. After that, we can just conquer the Europe. That's why we are bidding for a 400k euro investment to keep on the momentum and start fast on what we already built. And yeah, that's our tool. And it's not only about electricity. Our algorithms are great at planning the infrastructure, not only electrical, but any linear infrastructure. So if you want to build gas pipes, any underground cables, Neurogrid is here for you. So the potential is much bigger than just power lines. And that was Neurogrid, the shortest path to smarter planning and the fastest way to build the green future of the grid. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, and for the first time, you can enjoy the role of investors.
So, since we are the investors now, I would like to ask you, you've showed the market potential and everything, and I'm interested, you've mentioned you're building it in cooperation with CHEPs. So how would that potentially hold you back, since they probably would want to keep that private for them?
Yeah, that's all part of negotiations, but this is some sort of exclusivity for CHEPs that they were part of developing. They provided some know-how, some info, but we have been developing this from open source data. We are not obliged to CHEPs in any way. We are building this for them, so they have this tool as first. They can test it. It can be adjusted on their side, so they have sort of exclusivity.
So you are the owners of the IP?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, come question about how complex is to refocus to the different area, for example, and train the model, of course. Is it flexible, or how much time does it take?
Mm-hmm. It is, if you mean like transition to linear infrastructure like gas pipes and so on. Yeah, it is sort of hard work, but the models are already set up, so we know the parameters, we have the knowledge how to train them and how to modify them to work as we want.
For example, if we want to add additional parameters and additional variables, how well how much complexity it adds to your model.
Yeah, it depends. I don't know what variables do you mean, for example.
Well, let's assume I will add 10 more variables into your model. How much it affects the complexity of the.
Yeah, maybe our specialist can answer.
Yeah, hello. In the current state, what we are developing is that the projectant put the variables the variables are put it by the projectant, so he can specify which, especially in the layers of the terrain, like national parks, fields, buildings, and these projectant can specify by himself. So that's how it's done, basically.
That's right.
Okay, my question is if you analyze current market, if there are some other solutions similar to yours.
Yes, we have encountered one that is currently in Great Britain. They are focusing on a little bit different thing, and they are 1 year ahead. We are aware of that, but we are the second to our knowledge. So if we specialize for the Central Europe first, we have the local knowledge, we have the partners here, and if we focus on these markets, we can grow significantly despite there is this competitor.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, because the model was nice, I can see like 3 options with different colors. Can I see by the color what's the difference immediately, or I have to read the whole note to get to that point?
Yeah, well, every color was the route created by a different algorithm. Every of these algorithms have some advantages and some disadvantages. So that's part of the knowledge of the user that we provide him to. You can, for example, ask the co-pilot, and it provides you with the advantages and disadvantages of each model.
Okay, so how long would you say it take me after the output to find out the right solution?
Well, since the problem is very complex, as I already said, there are thousands of variables that entry this, so it's hard to determine what is correct solution. But we would say that in a week you can know which is the best solution, for example, environmentally and socially, because you want to avoid, like, you don't want to make the country look ugly. Yeah.
Okay. So we can say we could, from 2 years, we can go to 1 week of planning.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's possible.
Is your system considering the reality of parcels and the owners? Because my idea is that you can suggest a great route, but owned by many people, and we must negotiate it. So is there consideration that the route is optimal for like less owners or something like that?
Yeah, that's actually a very great point. We are using the municipality data, so we know on how many parcels the current route crosses, so we can minimize the number of the owners.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Are there some risks of using your solution?
Definitely there are. I think there is a risk of not seeing something that when you go manually through every layer, you may not consider something, but it's really up to human checking after the route. That's why we say 3 months and not 1 week, because of course the outputs are really, really precise, but there is need for a manual check for this. But manual check of a final route is definitely faster than finding it from the scratch.
Do you have idea of it will be subscription plan for the companies, or we'll give them a license for several years?
Yeah.
What's our financial plan for this?
Yeah, the financial plan, as was on the slide before, never mind. There was 50,000 euro. That's our initial. Yeah, thank you. Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, there is like 50,000 euro initial subscription, which is a yearly subscription for these companies. These companies are quite huge, and they require this tool for many teams. So that's why maybe the price is higher, but it's still much cheaper than the manual planning. Yeah, and the subscription is depends. It's like the first idea is to have software as a service, but if the company wants some customization and having it on premise, it's not a problem to implement it customly.
And will they pay also for the model calls, or it will be included in the subscription?
Yeah, that can be included in the subscription, because the hardest part is to train the models, and the inference is quite cheap when it's optimized.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I would add that currently on the training path, what you see is the routes were like 10 kilometers, something like that, and it runs perfectly on your laptop. Yeah, so that's the cost.
Thank you very much.